It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Thank you for watching.
So many questions for you. The American History X movie. Let's discuss this. Only because I'm in awe, where I'm sitting next to one of the people that was in one of my top 10 movies of all time. Like I said, I will tell you, like I said, I was born in 79. I was living in Washington State when the movie came out, so it must have been between, was it like 97, 98?
It came out in 99, I believe.
Okay, 99. Yeah. So 2 years graduated.
Shot it in 97, and it came out in 99.
And I tell people it was an eerie feeling because I went to the movie theater, and that was the first time in Washington State as well. When we walked out, you saw like Nazi signs and shit too. And I was like, really? In Washington State? Like, I didn't. Oh, you don't believe? Yeah, they got some.
It's racism everywhere.
Yeah.
My nephew plays soccer over in Ireland right now. He's dealing with racism, so it's everywhere, unfortunately.
So,
America did a great job on vilifying the black and brown man. Thank you, America.
Which is what the movie touches on as well. You know, I have this conversation all the time. Hopefully, we can discuss it a little bit. Is reforming, because I'll tell you. Let me back up, because I know you don't know anything about me, Guy. But normally, I tell people on stage I work for Department of Corrections. I've worked at male prisons, female prisons. I prefer working at female prisons because I never felt so sexy in my life, right? But I don't want people to think I've ever been a correctional officer. I'm not that type of person. I'm a nurse, right? So normally I'm running appeal line.
Heading out. That badge. No. Have something to say. Anybody with that badge, unless you're a fireman.
So
I got some choice words for you.
So I've worked in several different prisons as a contract nurse, but going in and seeing that lifestyle is just a different. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and he had served some time, behind bars, and I go, I want to know if Guy had to he played such a good character in that movie. So what did you study? How long did you study for? What put you in that role too?
I've been locked up a couple of times, in a jail, like overnight, a few hours, nothing, never in a prison. But, I got a bunch of homies, that been on vacation, I grew up in the hood. I ain't street. I'm from the streets, but I ain't street. But I know guys who have done vacation time, and you ask them questions, but you study, what it would be like. You ask them questions, and you just kind of like put yourself there.
Well, I will tell you, it was a great movie, and the animosity toward the police. That I had in the movie about, how I allegedly, it's natural with black people anyway. that wasn't acting. That's real. And I don't think it should be until I think I just put up a post this past week where I that's what it was. I don't know if you've seen the new Jeffrey Dahmer thing on Netflix.
I haven't seen it yet, man.
But I put up something like, man, if you really want to get away with being a serial killer, just be white, because there was so many times in that show where
if you want to get away with doing anything, just be white. In America.
There was so many times they could have stopped this man, and so many phone calls, and they took one of the victims back up to the apartment. Like, I'm just watching.
I remember
this
when
and
it
I'm
happened. I remember living it when I was.
Oh yeah, because you're from the Midwest.
Well, but being just me, I remember being in the news and it being a thing. It was like, whoa. So I was old enough to have jokes about it and stuff. So. Yeah, it's just crazy. So it was like, so I haven't watched it yet, but I plan on watching it.
Well, don't, because you'll get stuck on it, right? But it's a great show too. But to get back to the movie, man, I want to know, because at that point, Edward Norton was still a brand new.
That was his second film. His first film he had done was Primal Fear.
At the end of that movie or during the taping, did it take until, because I know I'll edit this and it probably won't look like what we're doing here, right? I'm not saying that it's going to be anything different, but editing plays a part in it too. So did you know while you were filming or until the film was done where you're like, this dude has something special?
Well, I didn't know who the fuck Edward Norton was when I did American History X. Had no clue. I hadn't seen Primal Fear.
Okay.
And I think that was great because I probably would have been intimidated. He's such a phenomenal actor that watching Primal Fear, I probably would have come in with, a but then as I'm shooting and being in scenes with him, you see how amazing he is as an actor. And you see, I learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
I learned lenses, different lenses, when to be big, when to be smaller, the size, ask what size lens, where you're shooting. I would watch him ask these questions of how wide are you, how tight are you, because that determines your movement and everything. So I studied him as he was acting, and he's a phenomenal actor. And Primal Fear, his first joint out, he was nominated for, Best Supporting Actor, which I think he should have won. I love Cuba Gooding, but I think his job in Primal Fear was a better job than what Cuba did in Jerry Maguire.
So I have a direct question from that movie, because to me, one of the dopest scenes I've ever seen is when is it before or after he does the curb stomp? But when he turns around,
that's my favorite scene of any movie of all time.
Thank you.
That's my favorite scene of any movie of all time. I don't know if it was him, the director, and that's what I want to ask. I was like, how many takes? Because if you tell me that was one take and it was done, I wasn't there on that day because I wasn't in those scenes. But to me, it's one of the greatest scenes in the history of filmmaking. Because when he turns around and puts his hands up, and I've said this several times before in interviews, when he puts his hands up and looks at his brother and smiles, like, yeah, but you can see the pain in his eyes, like, what the fuck did I just do? What the fuck just happened? But he had to keep that scene without saying a word. And that's one of the things I've learned, too, in the eyes. That's the other thing that I learned from Martin Lawrence. I was a production assistant on the Martin Show. Yes. And I used to deliver scripts and stuff. So I had to go deliver Martin's script to his house. And I went to watch to his house one day, and Martin was in his basement. I don't know if you're Martin fans or not. Yes. But it was a episode with the Nakasami TV, the big TV he had, where after they shot that, Martin got to take that TV home.
Oh, right? Really?
So I go over there, and Martin is watching Laserdisc. That's before DVDs. The Laserdisc was about a little bit bigger than an album.
Like an album, yeah.
Right? And he's watching Bruce Lee.
Oh.
And Martin was teaching me acting then, basically. He said, look at Bruce. He said, when you do film, it's all about subtleties. Like, look at Bruce's eyes, the way he just moves them like that. He don't have to do what I do on Martin, be big. And I learned that from Martin. Then when I got on set, with Ed Norton, and I would see the subtleties that Martin was talking about, and I use those subtleties, in a lot of the films that I've done. So yeah, that scene, no one ever talks about that scene.
Well,
no one ever talks about that scene.
That is a great scene, as well as I just want to know, how many times have you used the word Peckerwood after the movie?
I use Peckerwood to the day. I always use Peckerwood.
It's a great term, man.
Peckerwoods, I use them all. Redneck.
It's a great term, right?
Motherfucking white folks. I use them all.
No, great movie, and it makes like you don't know how joyful I am that other people recognize that scene, and I've never heard you say that on anybody else's podcast.
That's crazy.
I just know that.
And I really haven't. I don't think I've ever. I may have said it on a radio show, on an interview, in another city somewhere. But I don't think I've ever said it in an interview.
And I think it's also one of those movies that I really didn't know what it was going to be about going in, and I preferred to do it that way. Right. So I don't have, hey, what'd you think of the movie? What'd you think? Right. Like, I didn't know nothing. Yeah, I sat there and I was like, I got to go watch it.
It was a difficult release for New Line Cinema because they didn't know what the reaction was going to be. A lot of movie theaters didn't want to carry it because they were scared of what would happen after. Yeah.
And
like in St. Louis, it was at a real small. It wasn't even like one of the big chain theaters. It was in a very small theater, I think called the Tivoli, which is it was like an independent studio, independent movie theater. It wasn't in like the big, Regal Cinemas or Weinberg theaters.
How much more of that movie? Because I've heard that movie had like an alternate ending.
Yeah.
I've heard, so how much more of that movie could there have been?
It was
because it was already long. It was already like two and a half hours. Right?
That's where, as much as I love Ed Norton, that's where it falls apart for me as far as he and the director butted heads.
Oh, okay.
And Ed wanted to be in the editing room, and no actor should ever be in the editing room. And that's where the director...
Are you telling me there could have been a better version of the movie already, though?
I mean, no, I think the editor did a great job.
Okay.
It's just that the director didn't get to really edit the movie himself. I mean, it's your work, and you would want to edit it. But there was a bumping of the heads between the studio and the editor and the director, Tony Kaye. Shout out to Tony Kaye and Ed Norton. And that's where I think, I like, Ed should have just backed off and trusted the director. But Ed is one of those guys who cares about the entire process, the entire film. And I think maybe his methods may have been wrong, but his heart was in the right place.
Now, even though that was a great movie, you also got to do Life with Eddie Murphy, right? Out of those
Martin Lawrence,
two,
and Bernie Mac.
all three of the greats. But who else was in that movie?
Who wasn't in that movie?
But
Miguel Nunez, Bear Michael Telefero, rest in peace. Oba Babatunde, Shabaka Henley, my man Brent Jennings.
Is that movie more near and dear to your heart than
as far as fun? Yes, they're both, man, because they're two different movies.
Two different genres, totally.
Different movie. Again, I was in jail. It seems to be a theme when you're not attractive and black.
Don't worry, they only cast Mexicans for the thug too.
That's true too. Yeah. Black and brown, we together.
Yeah.
We came in the boat, y'all swam next to it. It's all good. We all get the same shit. But no, man, life was another amazing journey that I'm just fortunate and blessed to be a part of. It's like, I should be sinless, with the blessings God has given me with these amazing projects. You would think I would be, I wouldn't be a foul-mouthed, dick-grabbing, mama joke-telling comedian. I should be a saint. But, man, Eddie Murphy, come on, really?
Well, I will tell
Martin
you,
Lawrence,
when you said
Bernie
that
Mac?
we could do this today, I called everybody I knew and was like, man, I want to be Guy when I grow up.
But Charlie Murphy, my main man, Rick James. That's the one you think, the comedian Rick James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Thank you for watching.